Welcome to Parent Coaches Unleashed, the podcast where we dive into the highs, lows, and did that really just happen moment of parenting teens and young adults. We're Carrie and Jessica, parent coaches, mythbusters, and occasional referees in the battle of hormones versus common sense.
If you've ever wondered, is this just happening to me? You're not alone. We're here to help you with real talk, expert advice, and hopefully a few laughs along the way. Need more support? We also offer private coaching, workshops, and speaking engagements because sometimes even parents don't have all the answers.
So continue listening as we tackle this parenting journey together.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Parent Coaches Unleashed. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Jess. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm actually really excited for today's episode. I feel like this is
Yeah.
one, even though we're not in this stage yet, so many of our friends are. And I know you've been experiencing a lot of friends' kids' weddings, right? So today we have with us Julie from It Events by Julie. She is our expert for today's episode on all things wedding planning. Welcome to our show, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
We're so happy for you to be with us. So, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been event planning?
About 20 years.
Okay, so you've seen a lot.
I have seen a lot. Yes.
I guess then what do you see as the biggest change from when you started to where we are now, specifically in wedding planning?
I actually started my business more in the bar and bat mitzvah world,
Okay.
and my business kind of grew into weddings, and now I'm doing more weddings than I am bar and bat mitzvahs, and I think a lot of that has to do with kind of my clientele. They've all gotten older and they're all getting married,
Okay.
and same, I have that age children as well, and I like to say I kind of stay with the family for a long period of
Yeah.
time. So it's
Yeah.
been kind of nice going through the milestones with everybody. It's definitely a transition. So from the time I really started doing a lot of weddings would probably be a couple years before COVID. So there's been a lot of transitions
Okay.
from 2017, 2016 to, now, and you had COVID smack in between that.
Yeah.
So I think you went from normal weddings to no weddings to now back to big weddings. I would
Okay.
say people are doing much bigger weddings than they did back when we first started.
Huh.
And
Interesting.
when you say big weddings, do you mean the size or the extravagance of the wedding?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
It really depends, but I would say, yeah, the size of the weddings have become 200, 250, 300 people is a very normal size wedding. Where
Okay.
before it used to be 150 to 200 used to be more of the normal.
Right. So, Carrie, did you have a big wedding?
No, 150. What
Okay.
about you?
So, if you know my husband, which Carrie does, Julie, you do not. Lonnie is friends with the first person he ever met. Our total, not just invites, but our total was 262 people at our wedding, and we're going back 24 years. So it was a big wedding.
Right. And when your kids get married, you probably still want to invite those 262 people.
Not me, but he probably will. I don't know. Listen, we had a great time. We had a lot of fun. The idea of having something small and intimate seems really special too. But that's what we're here to talk about, what our kids' weddings will look like. Are you seeing a lot of the traditional parents of the bride paying for the weddings?
There's no such thing anymore as traditional or normal. It
Okay.
is
Explain.
it really just depends on the families. I mean, there are families where the bride and groom are paying for the wedding. There are families where the groom's parents are paying for, it really a lot of times depends on who who has the money and who wants to do what. So I always say, especially nowadays, there's no rules. There's no, it has to be this way and this one, back in the day, the tradition was the groom's parents paid for alcohol and music and the bride's parents paid for, venue and food. That was way back when. Those were like the
Mhm.
traditions.
Sure.
Not anymore. There's no such thing. I think it's very important to have that conversation very early
Mhm.
on who's participating and what does that mean. And just because you're not participating doesn't mean that you can't be part of it. That a
You mean just
financial
because you're not participating financially doesn't mean you can't participate in the planning of the wedding?
correct. And I think it becomes y- very important to have those conversations in the beginning of what people want and what's important to them.
Yeah, I would imagine that's something you have to lay the foundation for before you even begin looking at places, just knowing who's contributing what and
Yeah.
Well, and budget's always the tough thing to talk about because people want that's like the most popular question. How much does a wedding cost? And I tell everyone, I have no idea because there's so many factors that go into it from the size of the wedding, the type of wedding, the venue of the wedding, what's important to every single person. And there's not even a calculation that I could say this percent goes for venue, this percent goes to entertainment, this percent, because what's important to one person is not as important to somebody else. So they're willing to spend more money on that while somebody else doesn't care as much and wants to spend more money in another category. So it's really learning, that's kind of the first conversations I have with my families. What's important? What are the non negotiables?
okay.
And then
Almost
do you have to understand, like, who the decision makers are? Like, is it the bride and groom or is it the parents? Like, is that critical to
Well,
define?
yes and no. I like to say that it's really the bride and groom's day. They should be the ones who, if they don't want a big wedding, they should not be forced to have a big wedding. If they want a DJ and not a band, they should not be able to, they should be able to have a say in what their day is. Now, as far as how much they spend on those things, if they're not paying for it, that's a different conversation.
okay. So you start first thing is budget and who's paying for what. Those are the most important factors?
Well, budget, definitely. I don't care as much of who's paying for what.
Right, as long as right, just to know the number,
And
where you need
sometimes,
to be.
honestly, sometimes I don't know.
Right.
Sometimes, I mean, I've had people who have put the money in an account and there's a bridal account, and that's how things are getting
Huh.
paid. So therefore, it just comes out that way.
Who manages the bridal account?
Not me.
Okay.
That doesn't matter as long as the money's coming in for where it needs to go.
Yeah, that's the one thing, yeah,
That's
I
actually a
don't do with that.
really smart idea, is to put the funds in an account and the couple understand, right, what the budget is, and then they deal with the plan with you, Julie,
Exactly.
right? And kinda keep the parents at bay. Now
And and what's left over is theirs. So they get to see maybe if
Mhm.
they don't spend as much money. I've had people who say, "This is how much money we're gonna give you, but if you don't use it all, there's a down payment to a house.
Yeah.
Here's whatever it is that you need it for." So you can look at it in very different ways.
Huh. That is an interesting perspective. I like that idea too,
Me
Carrie.
too. I'm gonna have to remember that.
Yeah.
Not that
Not
anybody's
yet.
any close to getting engaged, but okay, good to
What
know.
are you seeing in terms of the trends for venues? Is it I know that when I got married, we looked at temples because everything was all inclusive. We were paying for it ourselves, and that was the most budget friendly way to make a wedding.
Still is.
Okay.
It still is. I mean, it really just depends on the people. There are definitely, I would say, I do a lot of weddings in country clubs and temples, but that's also because of where I'm at. I'm doing a lot this year down in Miami at a lot of the hotels down there. And again, a lot of it has to do with budget. What you're going to get, what's important to people. Again, some people, what may be important to them is the venue. They want that hotel vibe, they want a certain thing. So they might be giving up the quantity of food or certain things that you might be getting at a temple or a country club.
Mhm.
So there's, again, why the conversation always starts with what's important to you. If you say everybody's staying at the same place and having an all inclusive type of weekend, then a temple and a country club might not be the right venue for you.
Sure. What's been the most unique venue that you've done a wedding at?
The most unique venue locally, I think the newest unique venue is, Brick, which is the Boca Raton Innovation Center. It's kind of a complex up here, and
Okay.
it's just a great big room, and you get to do whatever you want to it.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a fun, different, vibe there.
Okay.
Couple of the museums in Miami. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything that's that much that you haven't seen
Right.
outside of the box, that's around there.
Okay.
And talk to us about the trend of destination weddings. And do couples start out with that as the idea or end up there?
That's a great question. So I think certain people already definitely, if they want a destination wedding, they have something in mind and they're going to do that. I had a couple who they actually started out, their destination was Florida. That was like for them the destination. And they had gone to a wedding in Mexico and realized that maybe they should do it in Mexico instead. So we ended up changing the venue, and we did it in Mexico because the cost of everyone to fly to Florida was the same cost for everyone to go to Mexico, and they actually did it at an all-inclusive venue.
Mhm.
Well, there's very different ways of doing destination. When you do something all-inclusive or you do everything à la carte, big different expense, totally different expense. When you do something all-inclusive for your guest, they're getting all their food, all their booze, everything is the same included. So you
Okay.
don't have to entertain them during the day. Everyone's hanging out by the pool. It's not costing them any extra money
Hmm.
versus being at a hotel in Florida. Every time they go to the bar, it's a cost, so there's a
Sure.
different cost involved. So for them, they were able to do multiple events in Mexico for the same cost that it would have cost them
Mhm.
to do one event here.
Oh, wow. That's something to think about too.
But
Well,
again, if
that's
they would have been at like a luxury resort in Mexico, it probably would have been the same cost.
right. Okay.
And you do have to think a lot about, especially if your destination is in another country, getting things to those destinations, like shipping things and bringing things. People don't realize the added cost, even bringing extra luggage and going through customs. You're paying for all that extra stuff that you're bringing over there.
Mhm.
Your hotel bags, your whatever you're giving out to your guest, all those things. There are additional taxes on a lot of things that people don't quite realize until afterwards.
Have you done any collaborations with maybe an event planner at the hotel where they can handle some of that stuff?
So I would always say pair up with somebody at the hotel. So I did have someone that I could work with, but again, if I'm shipping something to a hotel, they're gonna charge me for storing it and
Right,
putting
right,
it, no
right, right,
different than if I'm shipping something locally to a hotel.
right.
They're charging me the same thing. So they can do so much, but a lot of people, it's not the same items that you necessarily want. You're not getting little packets of Advil over there. You have to bring those yourself.
The important stuff.
Okay.
That's so
Oh,
funny.
yes. Bands or DJs or both? Is it a combination of both that people are
Well, yes and yes, meaning there are bands, there are DJs, and there are a combination of a
Mhm.
DJ with live music.
okay.
So it's a big question. And sometimes budget comes into play with that. But sometimes it really comes into play what music that people like to listen to.
Mhm.
You have to keep in mind when you go with a band has a set list. They
Mm,
play, you have to
what
like
they
the
know.
music that they
Yeah.
already know. They're willing to learn X amount of songs for you. But if you have a very eclectic taste and you want to go from genre to genre, you might want to consider a DJ with
Hmm.
instruments because they have the ability of flipping quicker than a band. A band
Sure.
can't roll in and roll out of a song as easily as a DJ can.
Right.
So, and I do have that conversation of what kind of music people want to listen to and what they want to hear. You want to make sure you are able to have that at your wedding.
Right. That makes sense too.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it like that. That's
Yeah.
okay.
That's
So
why we have her on today.
yes,
There's
yes.
so many things that we don't know.
Well, speaking
Yeah.
of that, so Carrie and I were having this conversation in preparing, and we were talking about current trends that we're seeing. And I said, "What do you mean current trends?" And she said, "Well, for example, the first look. That's not so my first look was going up behind Lonnie and him turning around, and there I am. But then she
Nope.
was telling me, "No, that's not don't
No.
assume that it's the groom." So
No. Yeah, tell us
what
about the first look and or these other trends that we've never even heard of that we might need to be prepared for.
Well, welcome to Instagram. It's all about what they
Yes.
see on Instagram. Yeah. I mean, and I try to remind my brides all the time that what they're seeing is a nanosecond of something somebody caught, and that's not really what happened.
Mhm.
Or how long did it take to get that picture? It's not really what happened.
Okay.
So I try to put like a little reality spin on it for people. But yes, first look is a deal. Doing a first look with your bridesmaids, doing a first look with your father, doing a first look with the groom. That did not exist when we all I mean, I've been married probably longer than you guys, but I remember exactly like you said, I think tapping my husband on his shoulder literally right before it was time to
Right.
walk down the aisle. Now it's, videotaped and recorded. I will say it is very nice. And when I have brides and grooms sometimes who say, "Oh, we don't want that. We want to wait." And I will do my best to talk them out of that because what's nice about it now is they actually do set it up to where it's a very nice, private, intimate moment that they get
Mm,
together.
right.
And it's kind of raw and real feelings. So instead of the first time you're seeing your bride in front of 200 people and having to hold back how you really feel, it's nice to have that private moment and really get to like spend a few minutes together. And some people choose to read their vows actually at that time to each other too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, if they've
Huh.
Ooh, I
written
like
vows.
that.
Do they do them in this during the ceremony too, or
Not if they
just
do them privately. A lot of people would prefer the private vows
mm,
versus, standing up
hmm,
there and doing it.
Hmm.
that's
I need to be taking notes here. Like,
well, you
store
just have to go
away
back and listen
for
to our episode, Carrie.
as if I'm planning a wedding. No.
Right.
All right. So talk to us about any recommendations you have for blended and divorced families and how to navigate all those different moving parts and pieces.
It's always interesting because it's a question like when we were sitting with a florist and we like, well, how many moms, how many dads? Because very rarely is it just two and two. And again, it's not about them that day, it's about the bride and groom. And I make that very clear from the beginning that whatever is going on with everybody else is irrelevant to what's going on that day. And we keep the peace. And sometimes it's scheduling pictures if there's, animosity or something between a couple or something. Well, we can sit people far enough away and we can make sure that we have somebody's family pictures before somebody else's. But I
Mhm.
would say for the most part, 99% of the time, people behave like
On
they
that
should.
day. Yeah.
I mean, I would like to think that everyone for one night can pull it together and act like adults. But that's not saying that I have not kicked people out of rooms before.
Oh.
And that's my job that day. I'm there to be the bad one. The bride should not stress over people arguing or people doing anything. And if I have to ask someone to leave, then I'm happy to do that.
Mm.
That's, an interesting position for you to have to be in, I'm sure.
Well, again, it's not about me. So what
Right.
makes it easier is I have to do what I need to do for the day to be smooth and for people just to have space.
Yep.
And that,
I'm just curious, do brides still register? Is that still a thing? Do they still do bridal showers and all that?
definitely. I encourage all of my brides to register. There's just so many, I hate saying it this way, but there's so many benefits of registering. Even if you don't get anything off of your registry, places like Bloomingdale's, you still get everything off your registry for a discount if you want afterwards. You can get your luggage, your towels.
Mm.
There's a lot of benefits. And I would say that the majority of gifts that are bought for the showers and things like that. Other than that, I don't think very rarely do people bring gifts to weddings.
I even went to a bridal shower recently where they asked for no gifts brought to the shower, that if you're going to order off the registry, you just ship it
Send it.
directly to the bride and groom's apartment or house, whatever. On that day, please, if you would just, if you want to, bring a card, but no gifts to the shower.
So no more bow hats?
Oh, no. No, no,
The
no.
games are all different now. The games are very
No.
different now.
But there still are games.
There are still games.
Still games.
Okay, I'm curious about your opinion on all of these destination bachelorette and bachelor parties that people are having and the amount of money that the bride and groom are asking their bridal party to spend.
I am amazed at how much money my brides it's because typically when you're getting married, you're also in a lot of weddings that same year, it seems to be.
Mm. Mhm.
So there are these people who literally are going to weddings every weekend, going to bachelorette parties, it is amazing. I guess I personally can't even understand how they have that much time and that much money to do that.
Sure.
Um, and I think after a certain time, people resent it a little bit. I mean, they're
Mhm.
flying all over the world. It's just not even Austin and Nashville anymore. They're going out of the country. They have a long life ahead of them. They don't need to
Right.
do all this stuff. But
Right, like,
So
blow it all
it's
out in 1 year.
right. It sounds all fun and great when you're the first one getting married, but when you're the
right,
last one and nobody wants to go anymore, but you've spent all this money it's just where does it end? I mean, it's just
I think that unfortunately, I think that's where social media really has done such a disservice to
Mhm.
some of these people. It's like who can outdo the next one, or who they have to keep up with what everybody else is doing, and it's not easy. It becomes very, very expensive.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely
Uh,
an added pressure that we did not have.
yeah.
Even the bridesmaids' proposals. I mean, like
What's
preparing the
that?
What
boxes.
wait, what
Wait, wait, whoa, back it up. Bridesmaid proposal.
When you ask your bridesmaids to be a bridesmaid, it's no longer a quick phone call and saying, "Hey, do you want to be my bridesmaid?" It's a whole box and a gift and a stuff all personalized. And oh, yeah, it's a whole nother event for that.
again, a social media event, is that what that's for as
Well,
well, or
of course, people, they're seeing all that. If you go on TikTok and you just do bridesmaids proposal, you'll be amazed at the things that will pop up for you.
huh,
Wow.
alright.
Speaking of proposals, do you think it's now the standard and common that when I don't even wanna say groom is proposing to a bride because that might be not the situation, it could be bride to bride, groom to groom, whatever the situation is,
Bride
but
to groom, although I'm sure that doesn't
right, but that it's always, like, staged and there's a photographer and the families are waiting either after for a party. Like, is that the norm? Or do people just normally go get engaged and it is not a big hoop to do and then tell everybody?
So when you say, is that the norm? That is the norm in certain areas of where we live. But, yes, it's all about the proposal. No one's kidding themselves about the fact that there's no way the bride does not know something is going on, that it's not this, surprise or what, that she might not know the exact moment or
right.
something, but you already kind of have a feeling when you know that you're getting proposed to. Um, and I've had a few who don't want that. They do a proposal, but there's no family involved and they do something later with the family, but not immediately after. Some of the things that you're saying um, are about where you live
Mhm.
too. So we live in an area that all of this is all very important. But if I were to say to you that the average cost of a wedding throughout the United States is $40,000,
Mhm. Huh.
you have to think about where is that all happening? Because that's
Right.
not happening here. So you have to put it all in perspective that what we see and what's happening around us down here is different even in Northern Florida. There's a whole nother world that this is not what's going on up there.
So you're saying it's a lot it would be a that average would go a lot higher if you were
Uh,
looking in
Just
South
in South
Florida,
Florida.
And in other areas. I
and
mean,
like
yeah,
New York or any of the big metropolitan
I think
areas.
we absolutely. I mean, I think if you went to Orlando or Jacksonville or, Louisville, Kentucky, this is not going on there.
Right. Are they still are mother-son dances, father-daughter dances, is that still
That's still there. That still exists.
okay?
Yeah.
Anything brand new outside of the
After
bridesmaid
parties.
proposals, after
Well,
parties?
After
after
Okay.
parties.
parties. So now, after the wedding, there's like typically an after party, brides changing dresses.
How
I'm
many
sure you're
times are they changing dresses?
hoping only once, but yes,
Okay.
I've had a few that
I have
have.
one that it's coming up that she has 3 dresses. I'm not
There
sure when they're all happening, but
I have to tell you, so there's someone that I guess I follow on Instagram that popped up. She recently got married. She had a weekend wedding. So she had a small intimate ceremony on a Friday night in a backyard in a relative's house. She had her gown for that night. Then they had a party the next day at a big warehouse in the city, and then it was another dress for the after party after the party.
Well, and that's no different than, having a weekend because you're gonna have a welcome reception.
Right.
You have a Friday night, so you have that. Then you have the robes that you get ready in during the day, so you have an outfit there. Then, you have your wedding dress, and then you have your after party dress. And then depending on what you do on, the Sunday afterwards or the whatever, the following farewell brunch.
Hmm. That
So,
that is that is a lot.
so on average though, is it overwhelmingly exciting for brides or stressful? Like
Mm,
what would you say? I'm obviously we're just looking at your clients, but
um, I would say that it is stressful going up to the wedding. And I think that the day of the wedding, it is exciting.
okay.
I think by the time most of my brides, I think by the time they get to the wedding day, it's the relief that it's here and we can just enjoy it. I try to in I try to have them do that at least,
Yeah.
that's at this point there's nothing else that we can do. Like you just
right.
have to have fun and enjoy your day
Mhm.
because
Hmm.
it's going to go by very, very fast.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess would that be your one piece of advice giving to brides? Given to I guess to the both to the couple that's getting married.
Enjoy it. It just be present as much as you possibly can. I
Mhm.
mean, I say that a lot during the day about just, taking it all in. Don't just let it whiz by you and you didn't appreciate what just happened.
Yeah. And what about to the parents? So if parents are out there right now listening and their son or daughter just got engaged, right? And they have this exciting thing coming in the next whatever, 9 months. Like what would you say to them?
Listen to what they want. Like see what's important to them first. And it is still going to be about them. And you're kind of have to find the middle ground between the money and the planning to
Mm.
make it not always about the money.
Yep. That's
I just it just feels like so much of it revolves around the money and what you're
Mhm.
able to provide for what the
Mhm.
people getting married actually want.
Well, and part of the initial conversations about having a realistic expectation, like if you have a certain budget and you might have to not be in the venue that you thought you were going to be in, and let's choose a venue that gives you more or that you can do more. I always ask people, what's the most important thing about the day? Is it the music? Is it the alcohol? Is it the amount of people you invite? What is it that is the most important? And I asked this question to someone who was very close to us. And one of the most important things to them was being able to have all the people that they wanted. And they had a big list
Mhm.
and they did not have a big budget. They ended up going out of state because we just couldn't do it here for what they wanted to do. Honestly, they didn't do things that I would normally agree with. And again, they were close to me, so I listened to what they wanted and it was a great time. They just had the best time. Maybe some of the guests were a little, "Well, this was interesting," but it didn't really matter because that's what they want, and that's what I always tell people, do what you wanna do.
Mhm.
Can you give us
And
an example of what some of those things might be?
ooh, yeah, the food, like having an off-premise caterer and not having 10 million choices and limiting the food.
Mhm.
It was a venue that we were able to buy the alcohol, which was great because that also saves money. But, buying the alcohol, we were totally fine with doing that ourselves. So
Right.
that again, it just adds a little more pressure or,
Yeah.
from that, but no big deal. who doesn't like to go to the liquor store and buy a lot of alcohol? Um, the decor was very minimal. We used what the venue had. We didn't have to make big
Right.
centerpieces or anything. So again, those were not the things that were important to them.
Right.
And those are the people who I think really embrace and have a great time at their wedding instead of worrying about the pictures or
Mhm.
that Instagram picture that they get. It's about you have to kind of bring back the meaning of what you're doing that day, in my
Right.
opinion. And like I say, I always say to like my brides about standing under the huppah, about staying flat footed, being grounded. I said, concentrate on just being grounded right where you are, because this moment you're not getting back.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a good one.
I li
I
I
like that one.
I like that one. I think that might be the good ending,
Right.
right? I mean, there's nothing else we could say other than that.
No.
Be grounded, but that's like a metaphor for our entire life. But certainly at that moment for any parents or brides, grooms, that are listening,
Right.
that's what's important.
And as you say, a metaphor for life, it's a great way to start your life together.
Mhm.
Right.
Just enjoying the moment, enjoying where you are.
Yeah.
So,
So, Julie, we want to thank you so, so much for coming on
Oh, my
today.
pleasure.
You enlightened Jessica and I, and I'm sure a lot of
sure.
our audience. So, if someone listening would love to reach out to you, how is the best way? Can you offer up your email, website?
Sure. My website is iteventsbyjulie.com. You can find me, same as my Instagram. So you can find me on social media or not the best at posting. I'm the greatest at reposting. I have great vendors who like to, tag me, so it's perfect for me. But yeah, that's the
Okay,
best way to
great.
get in touch with me.
Okay.
Great. And we
Well,
will include all that information in our show notes for everyone.
yes.
And Jessica, any last words?
No, I'm just curious though, Julie, do you have to set boundaries yourself for the brides, grooms, the families, the people you're working with? Do
I'm
they
getting
overstep?
I'm getting better at that. It's hard because it's it I and in this business, in my opinion, you have to have thick skin because you might be at the end of someone's emotional moment and they might take it out on you.
Mhm.
And I've just learned not to take a whole lot personal.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's much easier to be able to have that kind of mentality of it's not about me right now
Right.
and just get
Mhm.
them through what needs to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing and for
My
being with
pleasure.
us today. If you have any comments or anything you'd like to share about anything and everything weddings, please drop us a line at info@parentcoachesunleashed.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at Parent Coaches Unleashed. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. And remember, if you have someone that would benefit from listening to this episode, please like and share. Thank you. Right. Thank you for listening to this episode of Parent Coaches Unleashed with Carrie and Jessica. Together, we can raise the next generation of independent, capable, and compassionate young adults.
We encourage you to send us an email with questions and feedback to info@parentcoachesunleashed.com. Please remember, you are not alone on this parenting journey.